Good morning. I'm absolutely happy to welcome you to the 24-hour worldwide design conversation of Polimi Design System. Why we start this very long 24 hours of conversation? Basically for two reasons. The first reason is in that period we should have the Milano Design Week that has been first postponed and then cancelled, 2020. During this week, Milano became a point of reference for the international design community, and have been cancelled a lot of very important events, cultural events worldwide. And so we just, and Milano has been absolutely very affected by the pandemic in the last month, and so we thought that to talk about how design deal with a lockdown could be a good way to restart. And so restarting with a conversation. Why? Because in the last month we missed a lot of things, but at the same time probably we learned a lot of things. And one of the most important things that we learned is that we can keep distance between people, but we could never stop to do conversation. In those months, all of us has probably increased a lot the number of conversation by phone, by digital conversation, or every kind of exchanging information, emotion with people all around the world. So therefore, that can be a good test to call from Milano a big worldwide design community and start a reflection about how design face the big challenge of the lockdown and the after lockdown. So welcome again. We start and will be 24 hours, quite hard probably for us and for anyone that can follow, but I think that would be a good opportunity to start new reflection for a new era. Let me introduce Professor Alessandro Deserti, the head of the design department of the Politecnico di Milano.
Hi everyone. It's so nice to be here with you today and to have the opportunity of kicking off this conversation. My role here is to bring to the table the institution. So I will try to first do this by thanking the organizer. At least I will start with the institutional organizers. That is what we call the design system of the Politecnico di Milano, namely the School of Design, which is dedicated to institutional training, the POLI.design Consortium, which is dedicated to continuous education and professional training, and the Department of Design, which I'm here representing, which is mostly dedicated and focused on research. I would say that beyond the institution, I have to thank a number of colleagues. So I have to cite people, those who had the idea of doing this. First of all, Alessandro Biamonti, but all a large team in the end, people that rolled up sleeves and worked, I would say, day and night to organize this event, which has some degree of complexity, let's say. I'm sure I will forget someone, but I would say Anna Barbara, who is here with us and will speak afterwards, Barbara Camuccini, Giovanni Conti, Silvia Gramegna, Beatrice Villari, and a number of other organizers, and I would say beyond the organizers, all the guests that accepted the invitation for being here and discuss with us. And well, Discussing about people, as I'm representing the department alone, which is one of the 3 institutions, is today made up of about 300 people. In these 300 people, of course, I'm including the whole community, that is to say, beyond the professors and researchers, PhD students, postdoc researchers, technicians, and administrative staff. Well, the department is engaged in quite a few diverse lines of research with the aim of pushing design knowledge forward and expanding the horizons of the design discipline. In doing this, I would say that the design, but the whole system is connected to the rest of the world in what Alessandro was mentioning as a conversation. I would say there is a constant conversation, and maybe throughout the pandemic we changed the way in which the conversation takes place, but the conversation went on, and I would even say that it was kind of stronger with links that have been tightened during the pandemics. And I see this initiative as, I would say, sort of a condensed, also in time, version of this conversation, of the links that we have with the rest of the world, but also, I would say, a way of reacting to sort of a feeling of isolation that we live throughout the lockdown and the pandemic, which is unfortunately still not over in quite a few parts of the world. And as they asked me to also introduce a keyword, well, my keyword is at the same time negative and positive. It depends on how you look at the keyword. As the keyword is inequality, so it can be equality, but it can also be inequality. And why this keyword? Because during this period, I had the constant feeling that exceptional situations that we were living hit people and communities in quite different ways. You know, in Italy, we have kind of a say that says that luck is blind, but bad luck sees very well. And actually, this is what happens in this very moment. So I was really confronted with this situation, maybe during daily things, while staying at home, peering into my daughter's classrooms, and seeing the diversity of the situation, the diversity of opportunities, but also as I was teaching, connecting with my students, and actually peering into their houses to see how they were doing, which kind of devices they were using, things like that. There are quite a few things that struck me during this period and connected with this idea of equality and inequality. One in particular, and this connects to women and to the role in society, which seem to be sort of brought back to the past, as they had to more than men take care of kids, more than men combine their job with housekeeping, etc. So if this experiment is kind of a glimpse of possible futures, well, I have concerns about these futures and how we deal with constructing, or as we are designers, with designing the future. And I would say we have great responsibility for this. We have great responsibility as designers on the one hand, and as educators on the other hand. So one more word that I would introduce is exactly responsibility. maybe it is also due to my fairly new institutional role that I feel this responsibility more than I used to feel in the past. Maybe it's because some lines of research I'm dealing with are in straight connection with responsibility. For example, we are now dealing with introducing design and co-design methodologies in what is called responsible research and innovation, to provide more responsibility for research and for technological choices. Maybe it's for other reasons, but I do feel this responsibility, and I would start with a call for responsibility to the whole design community, which is responsibility for the present, and as we look at the future, is also responsibility for the future. I would stop here with my brief introduction and give word to the next speaker. I guess should be Matteo Ingaramo if he's already here, or Anna Barbara if he couldn't join us so far.
I think that is not the moment, Ingaramo, but as you mentioned keywords and terms, I will ask to Anna Barbara to explain why we decide, and was an idea coming from Anna, to create a new glossary, a new word book about design and the relation between design and lockdown.
Thank you, Alessandro, and thank you to everybody that
Alessandro. Yes.
And I also would like to thank all the people that worked hardly and the people that are our guests that will participate during the next 24 hours. Mostly the idea of the word book arises from a sense of exploration, let's say, of the words we were used in the days of lockdown to talk about design, about the places, but also to teach to our students. Everything was pervaded by a sense of void, semantic void, that has been created, which must be redesigned. Words to be invented, meanings to be reworked, accent to be moved. And at this refundation of the language, we also try to ask ourselves if there are terms linked maybe to local cultures, to other markets, to other regions of the world that are more accorded to the new times where we are entering. So a group of professors, researchers, PhD students at Politecnico, but also everywhere, colleagues around the world have had the idea of starting a new design glossary whose words should be multicultural, transnational, written by a numbers of excellent authors. So not with one voice, but many voices. So this 24 hours design marathon is probably only the beginning of this process of reinventing the language and the way we approach design. So maybe Alessandro Biamonti, you want to say something else about how we selected the guests that are quite international during the 24 hours. We are running around the world, following them, also during nighttime. And Alessandro, you would say something else?
Yeah, well, we can talk about the structure, because the idea of the 24 hours is following the time zone, no? But why we start from where the idea starts from checking, let's see, the relation that Polimi Design System, the international relation that Polimi Design System built during the last years, let's see, and so we discovered that really we can cover all the time zone of the planet, and that's absolutely an interesting thing to test. And the test comes from the idea of having, let's see, a morning with starting from zone by zone with all around the world. That's why some of us will have some direct on streaming to 1 in the night, 3 in the night, and so on, because we will be connected from Japan to New Zealand, passing through India, US, Latin America, and 48 conversations are quite a big number. I have to say, will be a very big effort with a lot of energy we put in. I have to say that we had and we will have fun as well, because we built that for that reason as well. It's a good opportunity also to talk with colleagues, with alumni, with friends, and with professionals all around the world, connecting with the design system and even the Polimi Design System as well.
Maybe I would add something else.
Please.
The idea was also not to use only English as a language. So we asked to our guests to also use local languages, because maybe there are some language in Hindi or in Arab that is absolutely more coherent and more fitted to the new meanings of the design. Politecnico, with all the system of school, department, and the consortium is quite international school. We have students and professors related to our institution from all over the world. So most of the time when we talk with them, we try to use new words and to make an hybridization of meaning. And so we thought that the opportunity to have such an international platform of guests could be also interesting to think where is the barycenter of the design system and where it will be in the next future.
Yeah, the idea of a word book, a multi-language word book, is probably an interesting experiment that we can test even in the future. That we can, it's a word book that can grow up edition by edition in some way. I think.
I see that you are already introducing the idea that this is the first edition.
You know, we start with the idea that this is the first edition of something.
To be honest, as we are discussing, Alessandro started with a 48 hours conversation.
Yes.
You remember?
Yes.
Then,
I have to
thought, well, maybe let's start with 24. So you may have the ambition for the next one to go for 48.
But considering the effort on the floor, considering the energy that we need for the 24, I have to admit that the 48 was a bit too much, probably.
Yes, it was a bit too ambitious, let's say. And it would have required really a lot of coffee.
Yeah. And take too much also the health system, absolutely, and the nervous as well. But I think that we are almost ready. We start, and so we can thank you, Alessandro Deserti, for introducing the system and to welcome the starting point.
Thank you for inviting me. Thank you for inviting me for this brief introduction. And I would also like to say hi to everyone, to those who are listening now, but also to those that will be connected afterwards. Also to those that are maybe sleeping now in other time zones, hopefully.
Yes, one of the nice thing is that for 24 hours means that while somebody were speaking, somebody else were sleeping probably. So it's not a conference; it's a real different modality of exchanging knowledge.
I would say it's a marathon. Yes,
it's a marathon. Yes.
Okay, I think that Professor Ingaramo arrived. So, okay.
So we can.
Hi.
Oh, thank you for joining us, Professor Matteo Ingaramo. director of POLI Design System. We have 7 minutes. I leave you the mic to say something to start our 24 hours, Matteo.
Thank you, Alessandro. Good morning, everybody. I think that we are under different areas of the world, so good morning to who is living in Europe. For the rest, who knows? Quite hard day in order to speak about the keywords that are related to design. Design is a very difficult definition, and it's always a kind of fluid understanding about our discipline. So thank you for inviting me to this conversation about keywords and about our system of design, that is a university system that was the one that was promoting this speech, these 24 hours of crazy speech about design. And so ready to start. I think that we are starting the 24 hours, Alessandro, right?
Yes, we are starting, and just
warm up.
This is just the first half an hour of warm up.
Yes.
We had a talk about how design changed and how we change some our let's say perception of the work and the discipline and maybe the way to do the work. We had you introduce a term that is progetto, and I think that I'm sure that the idea of designing something that is the Italian word progetto is strongly related with the role of training the new designer worldwide.
Yes, my keyword is progetto. You're right, written in Italian, and I mean progetto. It has a translation in its translation in English is project, but in Italy we consider progetto as a word that includes all the activities, including intellectual activity of thinking about design. So that's our way to say that we are projecting something. The definition of project is coming by the French first, that is projeter. That means that you are sending, let's say, launching something forward. So it's pro, it's going forward, and the jeter, it's launching something forward. And I think that in this period that we are living, this COVID situation that is a very, very peculiar one, launching something forward is it's really our objective now. And we are not throwing, but we are probably launching something, or let's say, even we can talk about running or starting something that goes forward through a context that is changing. It was already changing before of the pandemic, but it changed very, very fast, engaging us in an intellectual framework and in an operational framework that is very, very different. That is super cross-sectional, because we are talking about a situation that is not only about design, but is also about manufacturing services, production and delivery, and all the system, economical, but also social, and also about what we call the material economy, changed a lot. So the creative activities in this framework were already asked, because the change is very, very fast. Now, even if we are not talking about this contingent situation, but in this contingent situation, we are asked and maybe forced to think about a projection, a projeté, okay, something that is going over our reality and thinking about a new status, something that put all the creative expectations or ambition in a different framework. or even, let's say, to design a new framework in which we are going to put our expectations. So you invited me for a framework, but you know that I am also representing the postgraduate school and the postgraduate school of the Politecnico Design System. So what happened to us in this period is that we were really engaged in this transformation. That was on an ongoing transformation, okay, operating in the future, on the future of our students, and operating and testing our capability, our skills in creativity, but also in teaching and transferring knowledge or creating new knowledge. If you want, it may be better to say creating new knowledge, because if we talk about postgraduate teaching, we are creating knowledge that is an applicable one, as a useful one. So what happened is that we were in a framework in which we were talking about the same root, so pro, that is progetto or projecting, okay, and we were talking about profession, so the same root, pro, okay, and this profession, that is something that means that you are standing in front of someone, okay, telling, okay, talking about what you know, okay, that's more ancient Greek and Latin roots, but of the word, but the first part, the root of this, the prefix, okay, of the word pro are the same, and the profession and the projection are merging a lot in this period. And let's say that probably, from my point of view as a director of a school that is a school that is working with the future of the design professionals, we should live in a new perspective in which our profession is considered a projection in a future that we have to design and being involved in. Okay,
I totally agree, Matteo. Yes, and it's very. We have to stop as our starting point. Thank you for connecting the terms, very interesting roots of the terms with the contemporaneity. Thank you, Matteo Ingaramo, for being part of the warm-up of the 24 hours. Thank you, Anna Barbara.